Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. Today's episode, we're going to talk about literally everything. We're talking about triangles, squirrels, and LinkedIn, and how all three of those may or may not be related. But I have an incredible guest, and we're going to talk about a LinkedIn strategy I promise you've never heard of, and you're most likely not using also. But Deanna Russo, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I laid the groundwork, right? I mean, I said triangles, squirrels, and LinkedIn. I'm not convinced, even from knowing you for a little bit, that those things are all related, but I will.
They are when you talk about Deanna Russo.
Okay. Yeah. In general, no, not even close. But today on this conversation, yes, they will be. But I'm curious, you have a very unique strategy on LinkedIn. I want you to talk a little bit about how you even got here, because LinkedIn seems to be, even today, to me at least, this untapped gold mine for business professionals. And where did you even start with it?
I'm glad you said untapped, because a lot of people just aren't tapping into it. But there are 1 billion people on LinkedIn currently. And can you think about the possibilities if more people came over and tapped into it? It would be awesome. So basically, my backstory is I have been on LinkedIn since 2008. But for about 10 years or so, I treated it like an online resume. And it's still an online resume for a lot of us out there. But in 2018 is when I changed my whole perspective on it, because I was in a sales job. And that company wanted me to use LinkedIn in order to bring in business. Like sales, that's it, just concentrate on LinkedIn. But what they wanted me to do was cold call pitch. Basically, write up a script and copy and paste it and send it to people in the direct messages, in emails. And I did it for a while. I did it. In fact, there are still people connected to me today who got those cold call pitches. And I always like to say, thank you. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I changed my perspective because I got a light bulb moment. And basically it was, these people don't know me. These people don't like me. These people don't trust me. And so why in God's green earth would they do business with me? It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense now either. Honestly, it is about earning that know, like, and trust. And so I changed how I treated LinkedIn. I started creating content. I started treating it like a big networking event. And I grew from 400 to 11,000 in 18 months. Now I've just surpassed 30,000. And it's all about teaching people the triangle strategy that worked for me back then and helped me grow and helped me achieve the goals that I had in that sales job. So you get to know people through the profile. You get to like people through conversations that you're having in the comments that move over to the DMs organically. And you get to trust people through the content. And if your content right now is not earning the trust of the people that you are connected with on LinkedIn, I ask you to reevaluate, because then you're just wasting your time and you're wasting your energy on content that doesn't work. So that's really what it's all about. The triangle is built on know, like, and trust. And then you connect that to profile engagement and content on LinkedIn. And the reason why it's a triangle is you can't have one piece without the other two. They're all connected and they have to all work in symmetry. And then that triangle is working when you're not. It's not about you being on LinkedIn 24/7. It's about setting everything up, and then the vehicle moves by itself.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love the way you explain that too. And one thing you said though is really interesting, because you kind of breezed over it, assuming that everybody thinks the same way as you and I do. But I don't think that's the case. You said you treated LinkedIn like a networking event. And through a mutual connection, Donnie, who was a guest on this very show a couple of months ago at this point from when you're watching this. Most people treat networking vastly different than I think you treat it, and like you're talking about in this scenario. So if you want to know more on networking, first and foremost, go watch that episode with Donnie.
Yeah,
I'll link it
definitely.
below if you can remember for 5 seconds. But tell me about how you treated networking, because technically speaking, the traditional networking method is going into people's DMs and just sending them those cold messages. That's the handing of a business card, right? So
Right.
what's the nuance for you when you say that?
It's about going into that networking event, not expecting sales, not expecting to walk out with clients, but expecting to start building relationships with people. And if you think about that way, then you think about LinkedIn the same way. We're all there to build relationships, and you can't build it if you don't know the people, and if you don't like the people, and if you don't trust the people. So that's in essence what it's all about, is don't go in expecting to sell, go in expecting to get to know people and get to like people and then get to trust the people. And it doesn't happen in that first networking event. It never does. It never does. It's what happens after it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I just hope more people hear that message and stop throwing business cards at people. That's the moral of the story.
Oh my God, Brandon, I was at a networking event, and it was at least 5 years ago now. And I will never forget it as long as I live. This guy walks into the networking event, passes out his business cards, and then leaves. And we all looked at each other like, what just happened? And then one after another, people are going over to the garbage can and throwing out the business cards. I'm like, oh, he doesn't know what this is for, the poor thing. I just felt so sorry for him. I'm like, oh.
That's amazing. You know, though, as an operational guy, I applaud his efficiency. You know, like he got in there, he accomplished his mission, and he got
I guess so, but did he really accomplish it if no one held on to those business cards?
Probably not. No, not at all. Oh, that's so funny. So I have to ask, I want to dive into the triangle strategy more, but you talked about a purple squirrel, and I'm just, we've talked about LinkedIn and triangles. The squirrel is so far out of left field. I have to understand where the squirrel comes from.
Okay. So the sales job I was in 2018 was working for a small IT startup. And that my role was working with companies who are looking to hire. And so I was having a conversation with a colleague, and we were talking about open roles. And he said, oh, that's a purple squirrel. And I'm like, wait, what is a purple squirrel? And he's like, oh, it's this niche role that it's really not, it's not an out of the box type position. If you're a website developer, for example, you could be a Java web developer, and then you're more of a purple squirrel. You have a unique capability for building Java websites. So that's why it's called a purple squirrel. It's a unique type thing. You don't see purple squirrels running around. So I did a video on LinkedIn. And then next thing you know, it was the summer of 2019. So it was like 5 years ago. And next thing you know, everyone that I had been networking with is starting to call me the purple squirrel. I had one guy give me a water bottle with a purple squirrel on it. So it's followed me all these years later. So Purple Squirrel Magna is kind of the nickname.
So you are the purple squirrel of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. You know, I come to think of it, I have never seen a purple squirrel. Are they in the United States, or do these things exist?
I've seen black ones. I've seen gray ones are everywhere. I've seen tan ones. There's even white ones around. But the minute we see a purple one, someone needs to send me a picture, because it doesn't happen. No.
I'm out. If we start seeing purple squirrels, that's the end. See ya.
I know.
All right. So we have the triangle. Okay. We have purple squirrels. We're gonna leave that where it is. But we have the triangles, or we have our triangle strategy on LinkedIn. Know, like, and trust. So you mentioned a number of different things, from comments to building relationships. I want to know where someone can start with this without giving away too much of your secret sauce. And while you're saying that, how about this? I'll toss your website on the screen. So if someone does want to learn more, it's also down below if you're listening in the show notes. But where do you start with this strategy? And let's talk about for me. So I really don't do anything on LinkedIn. I put these episodes up. I post short clips of these episodes. That's about it. So where would someone like me start this strategy?
The very first thing to start is in your profile, and really taking a look at how you're showing up in your profile, because that profile is your billboard. Think about a busy highway, and you want the best looking billboard out there in order for people to slow down and for people to slam on the brakes without causing a crash and really stop to look at you. And if you talk about commenting and then you talk about content without a really good profile, then it doesn't make any sense. You got to have that profile first and answer the questions in that profile. Who am I? Why am I here? Who do I want to work with? What is my ultimate goal? And in each part of that, you show up in the same way to keep it all in sync. And that's what it's all about. I see people now that go into LinkedIn and they go to Canva, which has a LinkedIn template for their banner, but then they use something that is very general. It's not very specific. And I feel like I want to reach out to each one of those people and say, you need to personalize it, because this person has the exact same banner as this person. And so think about a scene from the movie I, Robot with Will Smith. See, we're talking about robots here too, and you didn't know that was coming.
I didn't know that was coming.
So think about I, Robot. There's a scene in the movie where all the robots are standing in line, and Will Smith is trying to figure out which one is Sonny. But he can't, because they all look the same. Same thing goes for LinkedIn. You need to differentiate yourself from everybody else who does what you do, because otherwise you're just blending in with 1 billion people on LinkedIn. So it's about setting up a profile that is dynamic and descriptive and different from everybody else who does what you do. And then you talk about engagement, and then you talk about content, because you've already got that foundation piece. A house is not built with just doors and windows. You have to build the concrete on that foundation first.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Side note, that movie gets scarier and scarier for me every single day. As we go into this age of AI, I'm like, oh, yeah. that was not a fictional movie. That was a prediction of the future.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy movie, but it's a really good metaphor for showcasing how everybody looks the same.
Absolutely fantastic metaphor. That's a separate podcast episode, separate theme. We won't go down that rabbit hole. Look, rabbits too. Look at us go with all these animals and robots. Okay, so on your profile, I want to just understand this fully, because I have your profile up over here. I know, I'm thinking about what mine looks like too. The banner section is really, that's what you see everywhere. Because even when you're going to connect with people, you don't see what they do. You just see their face and most of their banner.
And their headline. The headline is what's the text that's underneath. The banner is that big image at the top of the profile. Mm-hmm. But the headline is what follows you, to your point. The first 45 characters follows you regardless of what you're commenting, what you're posting. So those first 45 characters are ultra important. Now, LinkedIn gives you 220 characters to use for that headline, so you could write even more. But think about how you're starting it. Because I've seen people started out with husband or dad or something on the personal side. And I'm like, is that really the ultimate goal of why you're on LinkedIn, though? I don't know. I mean, you could put that in toward the end. I've got Bills fan and mom taxi in mind, but I put it at the end of it because to start out, I'm a LinkedIn trainer and speaker. So think about what the ultimate priority is. And if you don't answer those questions about why you were there and who you are there to serve and what your ultimate goal is on LinkedIn, I suggest really diving into that first before you even start to work on everything else, because that will help you guide you through the other things.
Yeah, that slipped my mind too, because like what you're saying is when you're commenting, those first 45 characters show up and your tiny little picture, your first, I don't know where yours cuts off, but LinkedIn trainer and speaker, teaching people how to maximize LinkedIn. I would assume that's about the first 45. That's a powerful statement to be seeing in a comment section.
Yep.
I like
And
it.
it takes some work. It takes some tweaking. I think I've rewritten my headline at least 20 or 30 times in the last 6 years. I mean, it happens. And your ultimate goals and strategies change too over time. So nothing is set in stone. And when I'm showing people that triangle strategy, yes, each one has a place in the triangle, but they overlap too to work up to leveraging up on LinkedIn, hence the name of the company. So it's all about stepping stones and overlap along the way. So it's not one and done when you can't just set it and forget it.
Yeah, 20 in 6 years isn't bad. I feel like I could, if I really just let myself go there, do 20 in like 5 minutes. And I don't think that's effective either. That's probably not what you would advise people to do.
No, it's really, you gotta be in it for the long haul. That's all. Think about like, what is the ultimate goal? What is the you got to think about the long-term strategy, because nothing about LinkedIn is a sprint. So you can change it up as many times as you want, or no one's going to remember that 5 years ago the headline was something completely different. They're going to think about what impact you're making with your content, or what you're saying in your content, or what you're saying in that profile. That's the ultimate goal, is to get that impression and that feeling through whatever you're saying and doing online.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we have a profile that makes sense to people. It lets them know how we help them, what we do, how we can serve them. What's phase 2 in leveraging up on LinkedIn?
Engagement. And I teach strategic engagement. And that metaphor is, if you walked into that networking event and you see all of these people talking in their own little circles, imagine that there are signs hanging over the conversations telling you what everybody's talking about. I have yet to walk into a networking event where there are signs hanging all over, but
that'd be so helpful.
It would be very helpful. But on LinkedIn, it can, because you're strategically going to those conversations, because you know those are your people. You know those are your conversations. You know that you want to be part of those conversations. And it's just a matter of commenting in a way that leads to questions, that leads to insights, that leads to people getting to like you. And I always tell people, comment the same way that you would in person, because then you're talking with your voice, as opposed to using AI that you can use it now to comment, and then you're communicating with a robot. But really use the commenting is really generating that like factor. And then the third piece of that triangle is the content. And that's, people can say, okay, well, I know how to create content for Facebook, and I know how to create content for TikTok and Instagram. But do you really know how to create that content for LinkedIn? I don't know, because it is a different algorithm than the other platforms. So the 20 or 30 hashtags that work on Instagram are not going to work on LinkedIn, because with LinkedIn, you need to be strategic with your hashtags. And when you're scrolling through your home feed on LinkedIn, that first 1 or 2 sentences, that's where people are drawn to clicking the see more. And if you don't write it that way, then they're not going to click see more. So you got to hook them in.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, because I see so many different approaches on LinkedIn specifically. Every other platform, everybody seems to kind of congregate on 1 or 2 strategies. LinkedIn's all over the place. I mean, what are the content methods and styles that really do perform best?
Well, when it comes to LinkedIn, variety is the spice of life. So if you keep showing up the same way over and over and over again, people are going to get bored. So I always tell people, show up in an image post, show up in a video, do a poll, do a newsletter, mix it up a little bit, because otherwise it gets boring. So There isn't one. I mean, when I started on LinkedIn, it was videos. I did 2 videos a week. I kept that up for over a year, which is quite the challenge when you're just starting to create content to go to videos. But I think with the lesson that I learned right that is consistency. And that was the 4th piece. If I was to mold this triangle into a square or rectangle, consistency would be the 4th piece. You got to keep consistently showing up. So whatever type of content you choose, make consistency part of it. And then variety is just don't keep showing up the same way for months and months and months because people are going to get bored.
Yeah, that's life, right?
Yeah.
Like any good relationship, you can't be the same all the time.
Right.
Marriage is a perfect example.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Deanna, this is fantastic. I could ask you 1,000 more questions because, like I said, you agreed with me. It's in an untapped market. I don't fully understand it. You do. You're the expert, but that's why we brought you here. So thank you for coming. Where should people reach out? Anywhere besides your website?
LeverageUpLLC.com. Search Deanna Russo, and I am probably going to be your first person that pops up there on LinkedIn. And come to my profile, follow, send me a connection request saying that you've seen me here. And on the website, if you head to that, there's an email blast that I bring just the exact same value that you get from my content on LinkedIn. I bring that in email form too. So you can see me multiple different ways.
I love it. If we search purple squirrels on LinkedIn, do you come up?
I should check. I should check to see hashtag purple squirrel magnet. I do
Purple
come up.
squirrel magnet.
That is one of my hashtags. Yeah.
Okay. Deanna Russo or purple squirrel magnet. Search both of those on LinkedIn.
That's right.
I love this. Deanna, I can't let you go though without the last question, the last most important question. And it's actually from you to the listener. So we believe that powerful questions get powerful answers. I don't understand LinkedIn. I think a lot of people don't understand LinkedIn. If we want to make this part of our strategy, I want to know what's the question you would want the listener to ask themselves so that they can approach this with the right intention and also hopefully get the right outcomes for them and their business.
What is your ultimate goal for being there? Who are you trying to serve? Why are you there? Think about those questions and how you approach it. And don't go all business all the time because we're all humans. We're all humans. So peel away that onion if you want and share the personal stuff because when you mix it up, people get to know, like, and trust you for the person that you are as opposed to all the business stuff all the time.
Brilliant. I love it. Sonny the robot is a robot. The rest of us, though, we are humans. Deanna, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Brandon.
For those of you watching and listening, you have your instructions. They're all down below in the show notes if you want to take advantage of everything Deanna said here today. And make sure you subscribe. We love having you here. We love putting these episodes out 5 days a week so we can help you grow your business, get outside of that box, and build a more harmonious business and life.